In this video, we'll look at two additional techniques that we use to improve the quality of discussion in whole class discussions and amongst students. The first technique that we'll look at is the use of talk moves. In Alison Hintz and Elam Kazemi's book Intentional Talk, they mention these 7 talk moves that support productive discussion: repeating, revoicing, reasoning, adding on, wait time, turn and talk, and revise. Repeating is when you ask a student to repeat what another student has said. This should be used randomly throughout the discussion, so not by volunteer, and in this way it encourages students to pay more attention, knowing that they may be called upon to repeat it, and it reinforces the idea and enables everybody to hear it more clearly when an important idea has been spoken. Revoicing is when you repeat what a student has said, but you may use the opportunity to put different words, adding in technical terms or explaining it in a clearer way or in a different way to help students understand. Reasoning is the action of asking students whether they agree or disagree, so maybe as a group or individually, but in order for them to make sense of what they are hearing. Adding on is simply giving the opportunity for someone to add something to the conversation that hasn't been raised but might be relevant or might extend our thinking further. Wait time is simply acknowledging the fact that when a person is asked a question, they need time to think about the answer, especially if the question is good and we're looking for good thinking with the answer. So avoid the temptation to rush in and prompt a student, and simply be comfortable allowing them the silence to think before they respond. Turn and talk is posing a specific question or a specific thing to talk about to the whole class to turn and talk to a neighbor about. We use this move to reinforce and focus people's attention on specific ideas within the conversation. Revise is the process of allowing people to express that they have changed their ideas in response to what they've heard. So we want to encourage the idea. It's a good thing to change your mind when you have new information. Let's take a look at some classroom video so we can see these practices in action. Before that, I will give you some time to consider the task that was put to the students in this lesson so that you can have context for the discussion that is being held.
The two that's even.
The number 2 that is even at the bottom. And how many examples did you have with 2 at the bottom?
Three.
3 examples. Why? Hold on. Well, let's see. Elijah, why do you have 3 examples with 2?
Because we were seeing like with the 5-1, 5-3, or like 5-4.
Oh, okay.
We're
Yes.
seeing if we could if it would work, but it didn't.
Okay, hold on. Ah, cool. All right, hold on a second. Elijah, you were explaining that pretty well. 5 and 1, 5 and 3, and 5 and 4. So, as a group, why have they done 5 and 1, 5 and 3, and 5 and 4 on the arms. Go, turn and talk. Three, two, one. Hunter, why do you think that they've then done 5 and 1, 5 and 3, and 5 and 4?
Because if you look on here, everyone's only done
Those numbers. So they've done different. What they are the only different combinations of the numbers. Because here, if I then put 2 down the bottom, I have to test 5 and 4, 5 and 3, and 5 and 1. They're the 3 different combinations on one arm that we can have. Do you have something to add on?
Why didn't you do 5 and 2?
Okay. Chloe, why didn't you try 5 and 2, I suppose, in this example?
Because we need to keep the 2 at the bottom, because it's the even number. If we switch 5 down, it would be an odd number. But 4 is also an even number.
It is. So, good. So this row, Vincent, what have you guys done in this row, Abby?
That one you just tested with the 2 on the bottom.
Very good question. So you were leading to our next point, Vincent. So then they've tested with the 2 on the bottom, and they've tried all the different combinations with the arms. But then, for example, here, so see how they've got 1, 4, and 2. What could we have done with 4 and 1? Just move. That's right. Move back a second. Then, Jai, what could we have done with 4 and 1?
I want to talk about the 5 and 1.
The 5 and 1 here.
No, on the 4.
Is this to do with what your idea was?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'll bring you up for your idea in a second. Okay. So Luke, do you want to explain to people? Yeah. So what we're saying here is we've got the same combination on this arm. I could have 1 plus 4 plus 2. Okay, and it would still be a different V. Like Luke, do you want to explain why you knew not to just test more?
Yeah. So if we did 4, so if we swap those 2 around, did 4, 1, and 2, and then 5, 3, 2, it would be the exact same outcome because 1 plus 4 plus 2 is 7, and 4 plus 1 plus 2 is 7 as well. So you know that you don't need to try all those examples because it will be the same outcome, and you could rather just do those 3 examples where each goes with one of each numbers rather than doing like how much it ever was. Yeah.
Okay, so what Luke is saying here, actually turn and tell people around you, what's Luke saying? What is Luke saying? Three, two, one. Will, what was Luke just saying?
So he was talking about how if he's got one example, then he doesn't have to keep doing it again and again. He can just
Yep, so that's right. Does everyone want to add on to what Will just said about what Luke is saying, Sarah?
Even if you switch the 2 numbers at the top, you're still going to be adding the same numbers together.
Good, Luke, perfect.
The next technique that we'll look at is the use of sentence stems. These are partial sentences that students fill in the blanks and learn how to speak to each other respectively and productively when having mathematical discussions, even when they're not with the teacher. So let's see a potential list of sentence stems. Notice that the focus of all of these sentences is the idea and not the person. I agree that such and such because such and such. So they're being forced to provide reasoning with that sentence, but they're also focusing on the thing that was said rather than the person that said it. This reinforces the idea that my job as a student is to make sense of the mathematics and that together we are building our knowledge of mathematics. Now we can use these sentence stems simply by introducing them to the students and asking them to use them. That's the most basic intervention, but we can build on that and make that more powerful in many ways. I'd like to look at a way that one of our teachers used to reinforce and strengthen the use of these sentence stems. So the first thing that she did was to ask the students to construct their own sentence stems. So you can see that these have been written in their writing. And then she kept this recording available for all students to see. Before each session, when the students went into the explore phase, she would review this set of sentence stems, ask them to read it out, and then she would ask the students to listen out for other students in their group using the sentence stem. After this, when the students came back together before the whole class discussion, she would ask students to report any examples they had heard of other students using the sentence stems. And then she would award points to those students who reported and noticed someone using a sentence stem, as well as the students using the sentence stems. She already had a class reward system. She was using Class Dojo, so she just incorporated that into this system. Here again are the messages that I said I hoped were being promoted by the practices that we use in the Alcoa Champions of Maths program. Question: are these messages promoted by the practices you've heard? Why or why not? Thank you for viewing these videos. I hope that you found something useful you can take away with you. In particular, I hope that the videos have helped you to reflect on the messages that are communicated through the different ways that we teach and set up our classroom. I'm Sham Jury. Good luck building a positive environment in your classroom.